Good morning, I'm meteorologist Shane Hinton with your October 1st tropical update, starting with the latest this morning from the National Hurricane Center. We're going to start far out in the East Atlantic, where you can see we have now kind of said goodbye to Joyce. This was originally a tropical storm, then a depression. Now it's just the remnants of the system. No more updates from the National Hurricane Center from it as it fizzles out across the Atlantic. Then we have Tropical Storm Kirk. This is expected to become a hurricane later today at some point, and then eventually a major hurricane by the middle of this work week. But the good news is it is expected to stay out in the Atlantic and not pose a threat to us here in the United States. Then we have a tropical wave that's just off the west coast of Africa, now up to an 80% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 90% over the next week. This very much has a good chance of becoming Leslie. As we head further to the west, this is the area that is of immediate concern for the Gulf Coast. It's an area of tropical moisture in the western Caribbean. Now has a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. Mostly those chances are going to be in the Gulf of Mexico, but we can't rule it out a little bit closer to the Bay of Campeche or maybe even in the western Caribbean itself. Now I do want to show you the forecast models here just to show you that there's still a lot of uncertainty as to whether or not this becomes an official tropical system. Most of the models have it kind of like a blob of tropical moisture, if I'm being honest with you. Let's kind of flash forward here. This is midday on Thursday. You see nothing really cooking in the Gulf of Mexico at that point. It's as we make our way toward the end of the weekend where we might start to see a closed area of circulation. Just as a reminder, if you're new to our tropical updates here, this graphic is comparing two forecast models, two of the most popular forecast models, in fact. You have the GFS, which is the American forecast model in blue, and then you have the European forecast model, which is in red. So whenever we see these closed circles here, this is kind of honing in on some closed circulation that we could possibly see out in the Gulf. As we flash forward all the way into next week, you can see those circles still kind of dance around the Gulf of Mexico. They don't move inland, but all the moisture associated with it could certainly bring some rainfall along the Gulf Coast. So let's take a look at what this looks like with one of the forecast models graphically. You can see that rainfall, like I said, very widespread, also fairly light in nature. We're not looking at very heavy totals here at this point. This is a snapshot of what we could look at by Friday midday, still staying dry in the Lone Star State. Notice though, as we head into the weekend, some of that tropical moisture could get pulled in from the Gulf. Now, it's not because the system itself would make landfall, because we don't have an official tropical system, it looks like at this point, but the moisture from this system plus an area of low pressure that's going to be out toward our west could help to pull in that moisture. That's what brings our rain chances to central Texas. Right now, it is looking like that would most notably be on the Saturday time frame for our extended forecast. But if you look across the entire Gulf of Mexico, these are the 7-day rainfall totals. You can see the heaviest rainfall is actually a little bit closer to Florida. Now, it's still well off into the Atlantic, but look at some of these totals on the western edge of Florida. Not the best news for them, because they're still dealing with the impacts of Helene. But there's still a lot of time for this to change. Something that's changed a bit since yesterday's tropical update. You notice those rainfall chances have kind of moved further inland, kind of light in nature based off of this forecast model, and mostly impacting the southern I-35 corridor and the coastal plains. I mean, for reference, this is showing maybe anywhere from 1/100 of an inch to maybe 1/4 of an inch at best over the next 7 days. Now, that's not what all the forecast models say. That was just one. Let me show you a couple more here. This is the European and the GFS model again. European model, a little drier with the solution, shows maybe 1/100 of an inch in Austin and maybe just shy of 1/4 of an inch for parts of the coastal plains. GFS model is a little bit more ambitious with the rainfall totals and the coverage. This is showing some much more widespread rainfall across the area over the next 7 days. So we'll have to stay on top of that forecast for you. Once again, just if you're curious, as we move down the list here, I think that wave off the west coast of Africa has the best chance of becoming Leslie. But if we want to kind of factor in whether or not that one in the western Caribbean becomes a named system, right behind Leslie would be Milton. We'll continue to track the tropics for you here in the KVUE Weather Center, and we'll provide those updates both on air and online.